How the True Believers? It's me, Shane, and you know what time it is. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It means that we are going to do another WandaVision episode, recap, review, theory explanations, what you have, what you will. Today's episode is episode 8. We have one more episode. The episode was, runtime was called 40 minutes and 55 seconds. Technically, the official episode ends about 35. But then you get that mid-credit scene. There's a mid-credit scene in there. So, as always, pardon me. If you haven't seen the episode yet, I highly encourage you to watch it. Then come back here. Uh, as always, I'm going to do. I have some notes on my phone that I took as I watched it. I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to do my best to explain theories along with going down what happened in the episode. As always, if I had better editing, I might put screenshots up. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm a low level YouTube person. If I did put up anything, I'd be too afraid of getting DMCA by the mouse. So, as always, please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get notified of more videos like this because I do this every Friday. Shall we begin? So, today's episode is called Previously On. Obviously, previously on WandaVision. I'm digging the titles for this show. Like, the titles are just on point. Kudos to whoever had to come up with those. So we do a. It's very interesting to note that whenever we get a last time on WandaVision, as if they do for the Netflix Disney shows before, or like regular TV shows, when they say, "Hey, last time on our show, this is what happened." I try to pay attention because they don't do those an awful lot. And we actually mentioned her parents, which was called Irene and Oleg Maximoff. Thank goodness for good recaps. And we did the Agatha Harkness reveal last episode. Well, the Marvel Studio sign turns purple after it does its usual rundown, and Agatha is being dragged. It's Salem, 1693. Oh boy, I think she's about to be burned, but she isn't burned. She is surrounded by her fellow sisters in the coven, and this lead character, an older woman with blonde hair, white blondish hair, says, "You've broken a rule." First, she asks her, "Are you a witch?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm a witch." And she says, "You've broken a rule. You've been practicing the dark arts," which some people may see as a oxymoron, given that they're witches. I encourage everybody, if you actually care about these type of things, do some research on magic and witches and things of that nature. It's a lot of stuff has been mainstream, especially by Anglo-Saxon churches. So just do some research. Plus, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina actually didn't do a lot to actually help that image, but I digress. She says you've been practicing dark arts, and she denies it all she wants. You know, Agatha's saying no, no. She's being magically tied with blue energy, and this head character says, "Stop lying," and she smirks, and all of the witches around her start saying an incantation, and they're getting ready to do something big. And Agatha is begging. She's saying, "Mother, please." Which I'm pretty sure this is her mother. There's some contention that this just might be the mother of the coven. I don't think that's how that works. I think this is her actual mom. And she joins in with them with saying this chant. And they all fire this blue magical energy at her from all around. And you can tell it's affecting her. It looks like she's actually about to, glow red and explode. But their beams start to turn purple, much like her magic signature color. And it looks like their life force is being drained by this. And then soon, her mother joins in with this magical Kamehameha. And all the while, she's saying, "I can be good." And her mother said, she's saying, "I can be good, please." And her mother says, "No, you can't." And, Agatha does break free. And she's not, it's like she's internally fighting, but she's not physically sending a beam at her mother. And her mother's energy starts to get sapped. And you see a nice little energy crown, magical mana crown forming on her head. And eventually she falls to the purple energy life drain suck. And we see the brooch that's usually on Agatha as you watch during WandaVision. Well, that's where Agatha got the brooch from. She took it off her mother. And here we are today in modern times. I had previously wrote in my notes that I wonder if the dark art she did practice was draining the life force of other witches, because it would seem to me that your whole point would be be good to your sisters, be good to your coven. Maybe if she learned how to take the energy, the magic from others, much how Baron Mordo and Doctor Strange is learning how to do. Watch that end credit scene. Excuse me. It would make sense that this is what she's preparing to do. And actually, it just clicked to me right now. Agatha Harkness could be teaming up with Baron Mordo, or we can get those two villains fighting each other in Doctor Strange too. Anyway, excuse me. So we get back to being in Agatha's lair. Uh, you know, I almost call her Scarlet Witch. Wanda, her eyes start glowing and she tries to enter her mind. Agatha's taunting her, seeing her scratchy, saying, "Oh yeah, she does look surprised." And she says, "You can't get into my mind. Can you? You haven't noticed that she has a protection spell. She has runes in every corner of the room." And she's like, "This is, only witch that's not affected by the runes is the one who put them up. Are you, that's witch 101." And then she does her little magical thing, gets Wanda up above the ground, brings her close to her, and she's saying it's a protection spell going through my nose, and Wanda knows nothing about her magic. She doesn't know anything about runes. Uh, they ask each other, who Wanda goes, "Who are you?" She's like, "No, who are you?" She taunted her about using the fake Pietro. Yes, Pietro is fake. Uh, and just, I put in my notes that she's a straight evil bee. Yeah, Agatha's showing her evilness at this point. Not really the neutral-ish character from the comics, much more against Wanda, but she was the one who taught Wanda in the comics how to use magic, which is kind of sprinkled in here with her explaining Pietro is a golem that she used to see through and speak through, which explains all of his taunting. Explains how her spell works. She uses an incantation spell because she grabs a fly off the wall and uses an incantation spell, which just it works on feeble minds and you can get them to do whatever you want. She made the fly, this large fly, almost to the point of being a cicada, fly all around Wanda's face, and she draws it back in, and she also talks about transmutation, which she transformed that fly into a hummingbird and made the hummingbird just fly all around. The incantation spell is more or less what Wanda's doing to everybody else, but she's doing it on such a grand scale, and transmutation on such a grand scale. FYI, people, this is things that you can actually look up. These are actually real types of names for spells and magic. Thank you, Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, uh, she snatches the bird, she's choking on it, and she's saying that Wanda is doing magic on autopilot. And she takes the bird and she throws the bird to Senior Scratchy, simultaneously changing it back into a fly, which the rabbit is munching on this thing. Very scary depiction of a bunny rabbit since an anime that I won't mention right now. Anyway, she wants Wanda to tell her how she did it, and even Wanda doesn't know. She starts throwing her against the wall, and she said, "I tried to be nice, and I tried to play along with you with this whole thing, but it's time for a little bit of tough love." And she takes a strand of Wanda's hair, and there's a glowing door, ancient looking glowing door, and she throws the she throws the hair at the door, and then it becomes a normal looking door. And it is a way for her to get to Wanda's memories, for her to go step by step with what happened, because she taunts Wanda, says, "Oh, I remember what you said to Pietro. First, you were just in nothingness, alone and sad, and all this other stuff. So he's saying you're gonna go through here, and we're gonna find out what happened." And Wanda's just like, "No." But of course, you hear Billy and Tommy screaming somewhere within the basement, and she's saying, "Are you? You know I have your kids captured here. You want anything to happen to them? Come on in." So she uses the children for leverage, villainy 101 as well. And she goes through the door, and Wanda sees her mother. And her father comes in, and he has this backpack full of old sitcoms. That is right. Everything that Wanda has been basing this world and her show around is in this bag. I'm talking the Dick Van Dyke Show, which is Wanda's favorite. It was actually hidden in the wall. Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, Malcolm in the Middle for the 90s. Just just everything that we have seen. And Pietro shows up, and throughout this whole entire time, Agatha's still taunting her, and she pushes her towards the memory. So now Wanda goes from being a 33-year-old woman to being a child. She's in a child. The actors for them both look exactly like twins too, same hair color and everything. And where it was charming before, before Agatha's whole taunting thing was kind of charming. Now it's kind of annoying, but I digress. Uh, Wanda's favorite show is the Dick Van Dyke Show with Mary Tyler Moore. Her dad's giving the full rundown. And actually, one of the things that Pietro was saying to their mother and father, you guys said we're going to learn English by watching these shows. So no, I forget the name of the fake country at this point in time. Actually, the original country that Wanda Pietro came from was Transnia, which is, it's not Sokovia. There we go. But they spoke a little bit more in their native language, and they're using these TV shows, which is, it pans out. I actually worked with a person from Bosnia who watched Beverly Hills Cop. That's how he learned English. So this checks out. Well, as they're watching the Dick Van Dyke Show, Wanda explains to her brother why she loves the show. They get into some antics and they explain antics, but at the end of the show, everything goes back to normal. And actually, a lot of the scenes that we see play out on the screen are actually one-to-one of what Wanda was doing in WandaVision episode 1 and 2, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden, as they're watching, the bomb hits. This is right around the time, this is right when she loses her mother and father. They are crushed under some rubble. Her brother brings her underneath the bed, and then another bomb comes in as we Stark Industries, and it starts to beep and flash. So it's probably going to go off, and Pietro's saying, what do they do? And unfortunately, before all this happened, Wanda's mother, Irina, she saw someone getting gunned down the streets. I wonder why she didn't say anything. If this was like a normal occurrence for them, or maybe they just didn't think they would get bombed. They just knew that people were getting shot down the streets. Who knows? But you see young Wanda kind of do this, but no magic comes from her hands. But she says, let's just sit still. The episode, and the TV is still playing. It's showing the episode. She says, at the end of this episode, it turns out everything was a dream. So maybe she'll wake up and it's all a dream. Wanda's pulled from the memory. Agatha is walking around and saying, wow, a young little witch who did a probability spell. And she says, well, no, I didn't do anything. She said, how long were you here? They were sitting there in front of that bomb for 2 whole days. And she's saying, you used your magic unknowingly to stop this thing from going off and giving yourself 2 days to get out of there. Which, just the way I even wrote this in my notes, I was actually starting to hate Agatha. Like, seeing her act such like an ass is just like, all right, I get it. You're super evil. There is no turning back from this. Then another door opens up, which has the Hydra symbol on it, and Wanda she doesn't want to deal with it. She doesn't want to go. Well, Agatha pushes her towards the door, and inside, she even asked her, you're so rebellious. Why would you, a young girl and her brother who want freedom, why would you join an evil organization who are trying to stop people's freedoms? And she said, well, we were young. We were trying to affect change in the world. And we see Loki's scepter, the same scepter from the Avengers movie, with the same Mind Stone that's in that blue casing of it. And no one has survived these experiments. They tell the next person to come in. Wanda even says she's a volunteer. And then suddenly the Mind Stone frees itself from the scepter, comes towards her, and breaks free from that blue shell. We see the yellow Mind Stone. And in it, Wanda gets a vision of... It's so obvious that it's her future self, wearing the garb that she usually wears in the Avengers movie, except with a headdress. So I'm pretty sure maybe in the Doctor Strange movie we will see this full Scarlet Witch. So after she sees this vision, she faints. They come in, they check her pulse, she's still alive, and we see later on in her room she's watching the Brady Bunch in this little cell, and they're watching her on the monitor, but they're going through the footage, and on the footage it just looks like she walks in and then she faints, kind of like how she has altered the footage of her WandaVision show when she was talking with Monica Rambeau about what was going on. Ooh, spooky, right? And even then, we get Agatha coming in saying that, okay, so the an Infinity Stone helped kickstart your powers. It kickstart something that would have died on the vine, which, God, this woman. And another door appears. And when she opens up, when we go through this door, she's at the Avengers compound. This is after Pietro died. I believe, this is before Civil War, but directly after Age of Ultron. She's sitting on the bed and she's walking Malcolm in the middle. You can tell because it's Bryan Cranston on the screen. And she calls for Vision. I don't know if she can tell he was out there kind of snooping around, but she calls for him. And he walks right in through the door and he apologizes. He doesn't mean to intrude, but he kind of does. This is Vision trying to figure out how to be a person. And he, we get a scene where this awning falls on Bryan Cranston. He says, "Is that funny because the man is in pain?" And she's saying, "No, no one gets hurt in the show. That's not that kind of show." And he's talking to Wanda. He's offering her to open up because he read that if you talk about how you feel about things, it'll make it a little bit easier. And she says the only thing that make it easier would be seeing her brother again. And she goes in saying she feels like it comes and goes in waves and has waves of emotion just keeps coming over her, and she feels like she's going to drown, which is very, very foreshadowing to the current situation she's in right now. And Vision says, well, he says he's sorry, but he said it all can't be bad. He fully believes that grief is love persevering, which is such a touching moment because it definitely gets Wanda's attention. And they're meeting eyes and they're talking. And Vision says, he wishes he could, she has lost her mother, father, and now her brother, and he didn't have anyone before. Vision was just a synthesoid body created by Ultron and the mind of Jarvis smushed together to make something brand new. He's never really had somebody. So they're both coming at loss from two different angles, and this you can just see the love budding before them, and it brings them closer. And actually, Vision genuinely laughs at a moment in the show. He says, "I'm sorry." She's like, "No, it's the funny part," and it's it's wonderful. And I can't tell if Agatha's rubbing crust from her eye or she's actually rubbing a tear from her eye from seeing this. And now we get Agatha saying, "Okay, you lost your brother. Your brother's dead. Vision is dead, and Vision can't bring you back from being sad about Vision dying. What do you do next? What happens next?" And then the door to Sword opens up, and we see Wanda very calmly walking in there, asking, the front desk, can she see Vision's body? She knows his body is there, and they get the okay for her to come in. Well, she used her powers to just open the door up. And it's very obvious that the footage that Hayward showed everybody at the Sword Camp meeting, and they showed Monica, and she showed Jimmy and Darcy, was very much doctored. She did not force her way through there. She did not. She flourished to open the doors, but she calmly walked in there, saying that she wanted to give him a funeral, and he said, "Well, he's one of the most advanced weapons," and she's going on about him being a person, and she's saying, and he leads her to the glass door, to the glass window, and we can see it's odd that I had this type of reaction to it. I don't know if anybody's ever seen an autopsy, but they're doing an autopsy, basically an autopsy, a dismantling of Vision, which comes directly from the comics with Vision Quest. I will get more to that at the end of the video. And they're sawing, they're pulling him apart. They even cut his legs in half, and Wanda sees his head, his dismembered head. And she's saying, "Why are you doing this? Don't do this. He needs to be buried. He deserves a funeral." And Hayward says, "I can't have you dump $3 million worth of vibranium just in the ground." And I guess he was just giving her a chance to say goodbye or whatever. But she, again, flourishes again and breaks that glass. Like, it looks like she's about to take his body. And all these stupid soldiers train their guns on her. And Hayward says, "No, don't do it. It's fine." and she goes to his head, and she, you would think she's about to wake him up, which earlier, before she came down there, Hayward says, you can tell it's a trick. Hayward says, I can't have somebody like you with the power to, you know, put a machine back online. I'm sorry, resurrect someone to have this body. And she said, I can't do that. That's not my gig is not to, I can't bring someone back, which shows Hayward knows a little bit more about Wanda's abilities than what he is leading on. So now at this point, she's down there. She's using her magic. She's in his head, and we're definitely getting we get the flashbacks of where Wanda used her abilities to destroy the Mind Stone. We see where Thanos, like an asshole, just rips the Mind Stone from Vision's body, and she's saying, "I can't feel you," and she's very much speaking to him like she can't feel his essence, feel feel his soul, which is very much a callback from Infinity War, where she was saying she feels him, she can feel him and sense him in every way possible, and Wanda just she gives a tearful goodbye and she leaves. She doesn't even fly out. She just walks out, goes to her car, and there's a note sitting on the seat. I'm thinking to myself, did someone slip this in there or what's going on? Well, she drives to New Jersey to Westview. And another thing I noticed is that her license plate said 2011 I thought it said EKH. Could have been EMH, which is Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It was they had a cartoon show, actually the best Avengers cartoon show I've ever seen. Unfortunately, it got canceled to make the Avengers shows look way more like the MCU, which is, I wish they would stop doing that, but I digress. I kind of paid attention to that thing. It could have been EKH, but I'm pretty sure it was It could have been EMH, so it's a toss up. But if that was in there, that's what they're alluding to. Actually, EMH did start in 2011. I think it ended in 2014. The show was going places. It was starting to include the X-Men. We had Wolverine, the Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom, Spider-Man just showed up. But I digress. So she's driving around Westview, and we see all the people. Uh, we see the mom from that '70s show. Don't remember her name or her character in this show. Not even gonna pretend like I do. We see her. We see the mailman who's just like a piece of delivery guy, just a delivery guy. We see the one big nosed gentleman who's Dottie's husband. He's just putting up signs. We even see Dottie, and Wanda drives up to this plot of land where they haven't even finished construction, but you can tell it's in the beginning stages of having a house built. And she opens up this letter, and it says, "A place to grow old," and signed V for Vision. And you can even see on the deed to the land it has Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. And Wanda's just looking at this. His land looks pretty. It's pretty dead. Like the whole scenery kind of matches what's going on with inside of Wanda. It's a lot of sadness, a lot of dreariness, and she just has a complete breakdown. She falls on her knees, sobbing, and then all of a sudden, hell breaks loose when her powers start to erupt from her chest. Her abilities are responding to the grief that she has held since she was a child, basically. And not only does her magical abilities build the house from the ground up, it makes it black and white, and then another burst spreads all across Westview, turning it into the first episode of WandaVision, making everything black and white. But that's not where things stop. Where things stop is where a yellow energy starts to siphon itself because all of Wanda's powers are red. Anything with her magic is red. But the yellow Mind Stone looking power is coming from her body and is building Vision from the ground up. It is if Wanda has a part of Vision's soul inside of her and she created him from nothing. It turns out she did not take Vision's body. She was not delivered Vision's body. And when Monica Rambeau said that it's all Wanda, and when Vision's co-worker said, please stop her, it has always been Wanda. And at this point, Wanda is still in disbelief of Vision being created right in front of her. Well, being there in front of her. But she essentially created him from magical grief, I guess. We're gonna get into that, but then she's in color where everything's black and white. Then suddenly, she is in black and white in that same Mary Tyler Moore outfit, and they sit on the couch, they kiss, they're watching TV. The ending to the first episode, which then Wanda herself in the present day, she sees the production lights, she sees the camera, she even sees the stands for the studio audience, and Agatha very evilly, I'm trying not to use a certain word, starts clapping, and she's saying, "Okay, I know who you are. I know what you are now." And she just snaps her fingers. She teleports away, and Wanda can hear her kids calling for her. So she runs, exits the studio. Exiting the studio equals exiting the house in another impossible space thing. And Agatha, in her full evil witchy garb, is behind the children with two energy purple leashes around their neck, pulling them. And she's saying, "You shouldn't exist. I can't believe that you are being a spontaneous creation. You have chaos magic, and for having chaos magic, that makes you the Scarlet Witch." And that's where we get our ending, and that's where we get our title sequence. But it doesn't end there. I told you there's a mid-credit scene. Mid-credit scene, we go back to jackass director Hayward and his little crony. She comes in and says, "All right, sir, we're ready." He's like, "Good. I'm glad we're prepared." They walk in, and he says, "I've been trying to figure out how to power this thing for 5 years," which is probably why the town was in disarray, because it was 5 years and people were probably sad. But I digress on that part. Finally, trying to get this thing back online. All it took was getting something from the source. They have that same drone that Wanda had used her magic on. It still had her magic on it, and they siphoned the energy from it and put it into Vision's actual body, which at this point is all white, is an all white body. And as the energy is starting to coalesce inside of it, this other Vision looks at its hand, and that is where we finally get our ending. Wow, guys. What a revelation. What an episode. Holy crap. Now, I have some notes here, so some things I wanted to explain, especially want to explain that white Vision. I want to talk to you about Wanda from the comics. And one thing I will address, because I've watched a couple videos where people are expressing, they still answering a lot of questions. They really don't have to. The show has been all about Wanda, so the fact that we don't know who Jimmy Woo's contact is, the contact could have been Dottie, for all we know. Because it could have been anybody. Personally, think it might be Justin Hammer, and I'm hoping it's Justin Hammer. Anyhow, uh, we still don't know what's. Apparently, someone says Dottie's supposed to have something special. I don't know. Funny enough, the Vision Quest that I was trying to tell you about, when he got deconstructed, this is a comic from 1989. This is the West Coast Avengers. There's 4 books that go into this Vision Quest arc, and as a matter of fact, during this time, Billy and Tommy are still alive, meaning they have not been reabsorbed into Mephisto, because those two were actually 2 shards of his soul that was cleaved by, I want to say, Doctor Strange. Someone cleaved them. I don't remember who. Pardon me. These are comics that were made when I was an infant. Anyway, uh, White Vision comes from the Vision Quest. As a matter of fact, Vision originally, his brainwave pattern was that of a copy or ripped from Wonder Man, and Wonder Man's brother, the Grim Reaper, an agent of Hydra, in the opening credit scene for episode 2. If you slow down those things, if you slow down the opening with the nice little cute cinematic that's like Bewitched, you can see his cowl and his scythe hand underneath the ground. And actually, his name, the real name of Wonder Man, I cannot remember his name right now. I actually don't care enough to look it up. I can look it up right here, right now, but I don't care enough. But Vision had his brainwaves copied from that. And actually, at the point in time, Wonder Man didn't want to give Vision anymore. They were literally trying to reconstruct Vision because he had been abducted. And if you look, please take time to look up Vision Quest. or just look up White Vision, Vision Quest. Seeing Vision deconstructed by John Byrne. He's the writer and penciler for that book of West Coast Avengers. It's very gruesome, just like watching it on the screen. That's not what we watch, but I'm gonna get into the why that's up. And yeah, when Vision becomes White Vision, he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any brain waves, which doesn't correlate to emotion or personality, which is why he is white. And it's been said that Kevin Feige likes to keep things simple. He does take the source material from the comics and want people to use it, and there's always a little bit of twist there. But if you remember from Age of Ultron, when Vision was created, he was initially gray. Vision also didn't have a cape. The synthesoid body did not have a cape until he looked at Thor. When Vision was also killed twice, his body went gray. He is made from vibranium and a bunch of other stuff. Gray is the default color. Vision's own consciousness chose the color of that nice burgundy and green. And this is how we get the Vision that we know from the show. And with the comics, they're saying it's because he doesn't have emotion. That's what the color comes from. Well, since we're changing that to emotion and being a person, I'm assuming that this white Vision literally is just from what they reconstructed, putting it together, and he doesn't have a soul. The Vision that has a soul is the one that's inside of Wanda's hex world. Pardon me. So that is why he's white. That is where he comes from. I have a theory that in order for Vision to leave this hex world, they're gonna not only they're gonna battle Agatha, they're gonna battle White Vision. They're gonna take that body, and we're gonna get our Vision back. We're gonna get our new Vision back. He may not remember things from the past, but he can look it up. But his love for Wanda is true, and this is gonna be great. Maybe. I don't think this show's gonna end very nicely because again, it has to lead into Spider-Man 3, and into Doctor Strange 2: The Multiverse of Madness. Now let's talk about Wanda's powers, because myself included, a lot of us thought that this will be the moment where we introduce mutants to the MCU. We kind of did with Pietro, but we kind of didn't. With fake Pietro, but we kind of did not. Here is the thing. Because of Fox and Marvel Studios being separate things, and they only rejoined together, I think, as of 2018, 2019, it was a very large attempt to suicide the X-Men out of the Marvel comics, because that's where Fox was getting a lot of their information from. They didn't make any new mutants after Hope Summers. The 5 mutants that were used to resurrect mutants in the comics. Now, after those guys, they stopped making new mutants just to screw over Fox. And if you remember, there was 2 Scarlet Witches and 2 Quicksilvers. One for the MCU, one for the Fox movies. And they totally changed their origins. Apparently, those 2 were never Magneto's children. They were 2 normal humans that were genetically modified by the higher evolutionary, which I've probably mentioned once or twice. He's a X-Men character that's obsessed over blood and powers and things of that nature. Maybe I'll do a video about him one day. But that is where they get their abilities from. So Magneto's never been their father. And if a person like Kevin Feige does things by the comic books, Wanda's actual mother was the original Scarlet Witch. She gets all of her abilities from that. And actually, her great grandfather was the Scarlet Warlock. She has chaos magic. That is true. That's the same thing. It's actually a lot of times it was called probability magic within the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But she has chaos magic. She's able to change things. She's able to create things. And she is actually a Nexus child, which is in the last episode with the last commercial we had showing the Nexus pill. She is a being that can create and alter reality. She can alter time. She actually helped heal the In-Betweener, which is another being of immense power. She is a central pillar of all creation and all reality within the mainstream Marvel Universe 616. So, with that being said, we probably won't see Magneto, since they have already changed that Pietro and Wanda are not actually his kids. Now, if they feel like reneging, and doing that in future movies, going, oh no, I had Charles Xavier wiped me from your minds and gave you to these two people. Your mother actually did turn out to be, the Scarlet Witch person. Ha 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 ha. But mind sorcery, mind trickery. That could be very much a thing that has probably happened. But if you want to keep things uncomplicated, that's just not his kids. And Polaris is very much Magneto's daughter because they share the exact same powers. So yes, for anybody that is wondering why aren't mutants being brought up, who knows? We still have one more episode, which will probably be between 40 to 50 minutes. I'm guaranteed there's going to be after credits scene for this. Got one more week. It's going to be interesting. Then after that, the week after that, we're definitely going to get ourselves some Falcon and the Winter Soldier action. Actually, that was pushed back. I believe it was pushed back by a week, but still looking forward to watching this. Man, guys, I know I gave you a lot of information. The video the information part ran a little bit longer, but yeah, Wanda's having chaos magic. That's all true. Her being the Scarlet Witch by name, her being this being of just creation. I wouldn't be surprised if her being a being of creation. She did say no more mutants within the comics, which wiped out 91.4%, leaving 199 mutants left. I wouldn't be surprised if, once more, she thinks she's about to lose vision and rips open all of reality. And that is where we are probably going to come up on with this. I wouldn't be surprised if this show took place during the same time as Spider-Man Homecoming. That'd be interesting. But I already gave you my theories. I already told you what I believe. I just hope Monica is okay. Hope nothing bad has happened to her with fake Pietro. I also hope that soon I do hope Hayward dies. I hope Agatha's in prison and she gets handled in Doctor Strange too. I really do hope that Hayward gets killed in this series. I don't like him. So please, if you've seen the episode, tell me what you think of the episode down below. I also always encourage you guys that if anything I'm saying sounds off, please look it up for yourself and tell me where I went wrong. Please, if watching my videos has encouraged you to go out and do more research yourself, that is the point. I always, you know, encourage critical thinking. And yeah, that's why I put up Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. One, because the ending of this movie gives me problems because they've messed up a lot. But two, there's no mutants. Wanda's not a mutant. She is literally just a super magical witch. I'm glad magic is getting more due within the Marvel universe. That leaves things open for vampires, for Blade. That leaves things open for Midnight Suns, for Blade, Mobius, Doctor Strange to team up together, and Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. So again, let me know what you think of the episode down below in the comments. Please remember, subscribe, hit the notification bell, get notified of more videos like this, and share this video. It's a good thing to listen to. Maybe I'll start doing a podcast one day and I can just stretch some things out. You never know. As always, guys, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. If I forget anything, I will be sure to tack it on to the next episode. As always, be good and be blessed. Wash your hands, wear a mask, Black Lives Matter, and Black History Month. Be good to yourself. Don't be a jerk to others. And I will definitely see you next time. And I won't forget to say this. Excelsior.